the benefit of if you see a movie where Tilda Swinton's in it, like you always kind of know it's Tilda Swinton. Even in Suspiria, they can slap as much makeup on as they want, but you're still gonna know it's Tilda Swinton. But like this movie, I was like, wait, who's under there? And it was just like the whole time like racking my brain, like who is that?
There's something very, very wrong going on.
What is up, Drive By Movies here, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaise.
And today we're checking out the new surprise horror hit of the summer, Weapons.
Rewatching. 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 Rewatching.
Weapons is the story of all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanishing on the same night at exactly the same time. A community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. So, as you said, Zach Cregger's follow-up film to the, I would say, critically acclaimed Barbarian. I'm pretty sure it's critically acclaimed, but it was also it felt like it came out of nowhere. It almost had that vibe of like just a random horror movie pops up, everyone's talking about it, and you're like, I think I need to go check this out. And then after we watched it, I remember absolutely loving it. I think I've only seen it that one time, but it's definitely a movie that's worth a rewatch. Did Weapons live up to the hype though, James?
Yeah, so I feel like both these movies are kind of like interesting litmus tests if you're at like a party or getting to know someone, just because both movies are very divisive. Barbarian was critically acclaimed, but so many people were just saying this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And similarly to that movie, like both kind of have similar trailers to where they only show really just the first like 40 minutes of the movie. Weapons did a great job with their trailer of not telling you what the movie is really going to be about. However, though, there was very creepy images in the trailer that I was like waiting for those sequences to happen, and that kind of brought it down within the first watch, but still but the movie was still shocking when it got to those moments, so I guess you could say. But yeah, I loved it. It is probably now my favorite movie of the year, I'd say. Every like 5 years, there's a movie that just like I watch it and I can't wait to see it again in theaters. It very rarely happens, and like, you know, Mad Max Fury Road, almost it was over a decade ago, I believe. That was one, and then same thing with Hereditary, and now this movie, I've seen it twice now, and I can't wait to see it like a third time, most likely. But yeah, I loved it. What are your thoughts coming out of it?
Yeah, this film definitely, I think, lived up to the hype. I somehow avoided, I feel like this movie could have been spoiled easily, and I feel like I avoided all spoilers, luckily. Like, anytime anything that just even said the word weapon popped up on my TikTok timeline, I was scrolling past that. I'm like, nah, I'm seeing that next week. I ain't getting this thing spoiled for me. But yeah, I felt like this movie, where Barbarian was like a really good like first feature, came out of nowhere and was like a surprise. I feel like this one was anticipated for almost too long, but it still lived up to that hype. Like, I think after the first trailer, people were hyping this movie up like this is his follow-up. This movie is going to be, you know, really the next big movie, horror movie especially. Like, it was talked about how like this script was almost coveted, but he was directing it himself, which was kind of expected at that point. But yeah, like this movie, I feel like there's more to sink your teeth into. It's one of those movies where I've only seen it the one time, but you could probably talk about this more, where like it feels like it almost deserves a rewatch. Like there'll be more you can uncover from a second viewing, because it's split up by all these vignettes, and seeing it from different perspectives. It's definitely a movie that I thought of Magnolia like right away. I felt like that was probably the most obvious comparison, but like the horror Magnolia. But yeah, what did you think about watching this twice and kind of giving it a rewatch?
Yeah, so there isn't really like clues throughout the movie where I was just like, oh, I should have noticed that the first time. I just thought like the second time, though, it just flew by a lot quicker. There was nothing against that first screening, but just there were times where I was just like, oh, damn, we're getting another character to follow. Oh, we're getting another character to follow. Whereas this movie, though, just like my favorite story is the story that's focused on Alex. For those of you who don't know, the movie's told in, I believe, 6 parts from 6 different characters' perspectives. And that's my favorite one. And watching it the second time, it just like felt like every scene was flying by, getting towards the big reveal, towards the final story within or chapter within the movie. This movie, like, I'm surprised, like, we are going to have to kind of get into spoilers within this movie, but just like, like when you hear the plot, like the first thing you think of, like, who kidnaps kids the most? And, of course, like, like in real life, like, there's like predators out there, but just like in fairy tales and horror films, the number one thing you think of is probably witches. But still, I didn't get the vibe that this movie was going to be a witch movie. But first and foremost, like, we're seeing this creepy old lady throughout the movie and creepy dream sequences. And then, when we finally get to the character of Marcus, it's pretty much spelled out for you once we get the character of Aunt Gladys in those sequences. And then when she's in his kitchen, seeing that sequence, I was just like, it's still surprising and still shocking. Like, you have that feeling that it's something like that, but just when it's spelled out for you, like, it's still like a whoa moment.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I didn't see coming, but was like such a pleasant surprise because of how much, like, one of my favorite movies is Roald Dahl's The Witches. Not the newer version that we reviewed on this show, but the classic Nicholas Roeg movie. And this had like those vibes, and I've seen people talk about it. This definitely had those vibes, like almost reminded me of Angelica Houston. But one of the negatives of this movie was I felt like the makeup is good on Gladys, but it's honestly very distracting because she kind of looks like Frances McDormand and sounds like Frances McDormand. That the whole movie, I'm like, who is that under the makeup? Like, it's kind of like the benefit of if you see a movie where Tilda Swinton's in it, like, you always kind of know it's Tilda Swinton. Even in Suspiria, they can slap as much makeup on as they want, but you're still gonna know it's Tilda Swinton. But like this movie, I was like, wait, who's under there? And it was just like the whole time, like, racking my brain, like, who is that? That it was like bothering me. So that is like just a slight negative, but maybe that's just a me thing.
Yeah, when watching it, I thought it was Elastigirl the whole movie. I forget the name of that actress. I think her name's like Holly something. But yeah, I was just like, is that Elastigirl? But then when the movie got out, though, and first thing I checked was like, who was it? I was like, oh, from Field of Dreams, of course, yes. And I've seen her in plenty of other movies, but Field of Dreams is the movie where I was just like, oh, that's her now. And like, of course they made her look super crazy within this movie, but just like, she's a character, and just like that girl within the movie, like, she steals every sequence that she's in, and just utilizing her for just moments that were 100% needed. Like, there's no overkill of explanation within this movie. From what I see, like, a lot of people are not fans of the tone changes or just like not having enough backstory, but just like that's what makes her character just work for the most part. Because a lot of people say it's plot holes. No, it's just like not everything needs to be spoon fed within this movie, and she's just given just the right amount to just make her creepy but also comedic and just stand out in every sequence within the movie. Because altogether, if you probably narrow down her sequences, it's probably just like 5 or 10 minutes within the whole 2 hour 10-minute movie that she's in for the most part.
Yeah, most definitely. That was one thing for me where I liked the amount of lore you kind of get from just her interactions, but also like specifically that Alex perspective. Like, you see it from his perspective. Like, he's not going to really know that much. He's a small boy. But you get how creepy she is, like how she treats him. It really does remind you of something like Hansel and Gretel, and it's effective in that sense. I think that's definitely one of those first movies, or not movies, like it's one of those first stories you learn as a kid about this like creepy witch who's gonna bake some kids into some gingerbread cookies. I think it was gingerbread, I can't remember, but anyways, yeah, they got to get in the oven. That story obviously creeps you out as a kid, and this definitely like almost throws back to it at times. Just the idea of a witch and how creepy it is. And yeah, there's just so much to sink your teeth into. I felt like this movie, it's definitely going to be worth a rewatch for me. I don't think I missed anything, but it's just, I would like to see it again because I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, I think that Zach Cregger has definitely shown that he's like that next horror director. I think some people might have cooled off on Jordan Peele. Like, we know he's the visionary he is, but it almost feels like Zach Cregger's almost like stepping into his shoes with like bringing us something we're not really expecting and something that takes the world by storm. And I think right now horror is just in this place where it's very like the whole movie industry is not healthy right now. But it feels like horror is that one thing that is like the cockroach that will not die from a nuclear blast. Like, it's just going to survive anything. Horror will always be profitable, will always be successful. Maybe the people that go and see it will change, but there will always be people that are interested in a horror movie, and horror is always going to be something where it's easy to get off the ground. And for your first movie, but it was awesome to see Zach Cregger's second movie where it's loaded with stars, loaded with actors. We talked about Bring Her Back last week, how it was cool to see the Philippou brothers have one big actress, but it's awesome to see Zach Cregger have an ensemble cast of just great actors for this film.
Right, and yeah, just actors I never would have expected to see in a movie like this. You know, like, not that none of these actors have done, you know, this kind of genre before, but it's just surprising to see all these people come together for a movie that's, you know, modest budget. It's a little higher budgeted for a horror film, but still, though, like, you know, it's still at a modest rate, though. And then, you know, just like everyone gathering up for this director. Technically it's his like third movie, but, you know, really it's technically his like sophomore movie, though. Like, you can consider Miss March's first movie, but, you know, we'll say Barbarian is his first movie. But yeah, just yeah, I highly recommend checking it out. There's just so much substance within this movie, and just like, I guess some stuff I caught on like on the second watch was just like, oh, Matthew is bullying, you know, this poor kid Alex because, you know, because he's not getting the love that he gets from his dad, and his dad even like acknowledges that throughout the movie, that I wasn't there for you, I failed you, I wish I told you I loved you more often and stuff too. And that could have been why Matthew's a bully. Like, little things like that. A lot of people always bring up how bullies are just like unloved kids, and so they take it out on their classmates and stuff. And, you know, so there's like substance to like little things like that I picked up on the second watch. But curious what I'll catch up on the third one, or might just have fun watching it. But it was just cool also to see a movie with such a big audience. And there were some annoying people in my audience, but I saw with a really packed theater the first time, and people were quiet the whole movie. You know, people had their phone out only for like the first 5 minutes, but once the story got on, I think everyone was just kind of glued to watching it, and there was the right gasps and the right laughs, and just like feels like this is like what I missed about movies. Like, I guess like this is the high that people got watching Marvel movies I had watching this movie.
So Weapons is the Marvel movie of horror movies, would you say?
I mean, for me, I guess you could say, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
For like crowd interaction, I definitely agree with you there. I thought that this movie was super enjoyable to watch with a packed theater, and also everyone was just locked in, like you said. Like there's moments that are funny, that are a little bit. We talked about Together, how, you know, last week we talked about Together and how, you know, like sometimes I wish people kind of knew it was more of a comedy, or some scenes were played more comedic. There's definitely scenes in this film, especially thinking about the end, where it's like super comedic, very obvious, and like your audience wasn't wondering if they should be laughing. Like, it was like pretty obvious, I feel like. But then there's also pretty horrific stuff in this film. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I would definitely say if you're gonna watch one movie this year, it's got to be Weapons.
Yeah, I highly recommend it, you know. But are we completely wrong? Like, I really want to hear from people who are disliking this movie. Why? Let us know in the comments below. Don't say I hated it because of plot holes. What are those plot holes, and go into deep detail on why it's a plot hole. But, you know, so let us know in the comments down below. A great way to help support us is just by doing that.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and also our own personal letterbox accounts. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for a brand new video.